In this class we want to talk about the span of control. It overlaps with other classes we've looked at, particularly in terms of tall and flat organizations and small and large businesses. But just to introduce this idea of span of control, and we'll link it back to tall and flat organizations. So to start, what is a span of control? Well, it refers to the number of subordinates, the number of workers that report to a superior or to a manager within an organization. So it refers to the number of workers per manager. That is the span of control. That's how you would measure it. The concept of span of control looks into how relationships are developed between workers and management in an organization, between subordinates and the boss in the organization. Different spans of control are more amenable to different worker-management relationships. There are two types of span of control that we need to consider. First is the narrow span of control, which refers to a single manager who is in charge of monitoring a few subordinates. It's narrow, few workers. But because there are few workers reporting to each manager, it's a tall organization. Tall means different layers above the production layer. So a tall organization will have specialist departments, HRM, marketing, purchasing, and so on. So a narrow span of control, few workers per manager. A wide span of control, the opposite. Large number of workers per manager. And this normally happens in a flat organization, typically a small organization. This means that the manager has responsibility for many tasks within the department and has to look after perhaps a lot of workers and a lot of processes and a lot of work throughput to be monitored by a single manager. So a narrow span of control is more expensive than a wide span of control because there are more layers. The bureaucracy above the production level has to be supported. The specialists in the specialist department have to be supported, albeit that there is an efficiency associated with them as well. It might be better for specialists to do HRM than leave it to managers who don't have an expertise in the area. A wide span of control is beneficial for organizations whose subordinates are not geographically located. So a wide span of control means a manager has got many workers reporting, but that means a big department. A big department may not be located in one center. It might be in a different factory or a different set of offices or in a different location. It may be in the same place, but it may be very large and requiring different jobs and different functions to be performed, which have to be separated out. So there's an issue there. Narrow span of control provides opportunities for growth in the organization. Well, certainly if it's narrow and each manager has many workers reporting to him or her, and the company is growing, then there seems to be a basis for perhaps more managers, and perhaps the organizational structure itself may need to be looked at, and even more layers of management doing more specialist tasks may be required. So in this section we've looked at wide span of management and narrow span of management. Now let's look at flat and tall organization structures, and as I said, we have looked at these in other videos in this series as well, but let's run over it again. So first of all, a flat organization. Well, as you can see at the bottom are the workers. Above the workers there are some managers, and above the managers is the superior, is the CEO or the managing director or the chairman or whatever you want to call this person, whatever the title is. But you can see there's only one layer of management really, well two, but one perhaps more pressing than the other. So few layers of hierarchy. Communications is very efficient in this case. It's easy to see the manager, to have a chat about some process or something that's gone wrong, some problem, and get it fixed immediately. So efficient communications, not very bureaucratic. No formal rules, or very few formal rules or regulations, and easy to deal with. Decentralized, because the managers have got a lot of responsibility. They've got to make decisions. They can't keep running back to the senior management looking for guidance. They have to make decisions to keep the production rolling along, to keep it working. So the decision making is decentralized. It's a very informal set of guidelines, a very informal organisational structure, a very informal way of doing things. The manager has got responsibility. However, there are not many opportunities for promotion here. There's only one layer of management above the immediate layer at the worker level, at the production level. So the chances of promotion are very, very slim, which may demotivate some workers. The majority of the employees also report to a single manager perhaps, and this is a very stressful thing to happen. If a manager has got many workers reporting to him or her, and they've got responsibility to keep production rolling along, make sure they've got enough stock and they're not overstocked at the same time, and the machines are working and that the workers are happy. This is stressful for the manager. Not an easy task. Tall organisations, well, more layers of management, as you can see. There are more managerial layers in there. Fewer workers per manager, so the span of control for each manager is less. It's a narrow span. More levels of hierarchy, as I said. More centralized structure. Because there are more layers of management, the additional layers have rules and regulations which they write down and pass down, and it's much more centralized. So the manager at the bottom has less flexibility, must follow the rules handed down from the top. But there are opportunities for career progression, so it is possible to be promoted. Overall, a very formalized structure. The tall organisations tend to be bureaucratic, involve rules and policies and instructions. So they're controlled from the top down. And communications is complex. It's difficult to get communications. Generally speaking, communications are through formal channels. For example, emails or internal methods of communication, which may be electronic or whatever, as opposed to with a flat organisation where it may be possible to meet face to face and have a greater understanding, a human understanding of each other, and have some sort of social contact in addition to work, which could be beneficial long run. Communications in a tall organisation may be complex and quite impersonal. Literature varies about what the ideal span of control is. Some say 15 to 20 employees per manager. Others say 6. It's no real consensus. It depends critically on the nature of the organisation, the nature of the job. Some jobs might require very few workers reporting because it's a very pressurized, complex procedure. and managers have to be involved in great detail with each worker. Depends. It also depends on the skills and the capabilities or the competencies of the manager and the employees. If they're capable of just getting on with the work, all the better. But maybe they're not. Maybe they haven't got that skill. So it depends on how capable the workers are of working independently. And that will partly determine the span of control. Also, it depends on the relationship between the manager and the employees. If they have a good relationship, they're probably all pulling together, trying to help each other. But if it's a soured relationship, bad industrial relations, bad working relationships, there may be a requirement for more managers to supervise the workers. So in this class we've looked at this idea of span of control, how to measure the span of control, what determines the span of control. We've linked it to tall and flat organizations, which in other videos we've linked to big businesses and small businesses. So there's an overall view now of some of the more detailed managerial controls that are required for different types of organizational structure. And that about concludes this class. So thank you for watching.